What is up, Duelists? Super Insane 18 here, and I'm not going to waste any time because I've made you guys wait long enough. We're just going to go ahead and jump on in. Today I'm going to be showing you more, or rather part 3 of the Advanced Atlantean Mermail combo guide. If you haven't seen the other 2 parts, definitely go ahead and do so because they are not necessary to understand these combos, but they will enhance your overall understanding of the deck as a whole. So let's go ahead and answer one of the questions that I have seen a lot of online, which is why are we playing 3 copies of the Abyss Rhine? Now, Abyss Rhine is one of those cards that you have multiple ways of searching into in your deck, which might make you think that you don't really want to play it, but in certain scenarios, it can actually be a combo starter. So we're going to show you what to do if you have the Abyss Osha, but don't worry because if you do not play the Abyss Osha, you can accomplish this exact same combo with Mermail Shadow Squad. So let's show you guys how it works. We will start off with the normal summon of the Abyss Osha, and using its effect to target ourselves, we can then summon a copy, or rather a level 3 or lower Mermail from our deck, and that will of course get us the copy of Shadow Squad, which then we have to send the Osha, and this is why you can accomplish this same exact end board if you just have the Shadow Squad, because if you don't have the Osha, just normal summon the Shadow Squad and you get to the exact same point. We can then use the effect of our Abyss Rhine to tribute off itself and the Shadow Squad. This is of course going to allow us to summon out our copy of Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth from our deck, and we want to make sure that we do it under an extra monster zone. The reason that is important is because later on we will be making Marincess Coral Anemone linking off the Coelacanth for its summon, and that's just the easiest way to guarantee that we don't mess up our positioning and that the Coral Anemone will have a zone that it points to. Of course, then we get to activate the effect of the Shadow Squad because it was sent to activate a Water Monster's effect, which will allow us to summon our copy of Neptibus the Atlantean Prince from our deck. With Neptibus now on the field, we can activate its effect, sending a copy of Atlantean Dragoons from our deck as cost, to then add any Atlantean. In this case, it is going to be another copy of Atlantean Dragoons. Atlantean Dragoons will be able to activate as it was sent by the effect of a Water Monster, and now we can go ahead and add our copy of Dueling Guard. Now, we don't have 5 just yet, but we will get there really soon, so don't worry. Here we are going to use the Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth to discard the Atlantean Dragoons, and this is going to summon as many level 4 or lower fish from our deck as possible. We are going to go ahead and summon out 3 copies of Abyss Pike. Now their effects are negated, but that does not matter because we are already fully set up, but we do have one more thing we can do really quick, which is activate the effect of Dragoons, because again, it was sent to activate a Water Monster's effect. That means Dragoons will add us our copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. Here what we are going to do is overlay 2 of our Abyss Pikes. This is going to go into our copy of Bahamut Shark, and the reason we made it in the extra monster zone is to ensure that we have enough zones to summon everything that we are trying to summon. But before we use the effect, we are now at 5 in our graveyard, meaning that it is time for the Dueling Guard to come down, ripping 2 cards out of our opponent's hand. Here we will activate the effect of Bahamut Shark, detaching either of the material, it does not matter which one, and of course that gets us our first Omni Negate in Totally Awesome, and then we can take the Bahamut Shark and overlay it into the copy of Xyz's Armored Fortress. Xyz's Armored Fortress will detach either material. This is of course going to allow us to add our copy of Armored Shark, and now we're pretty much good to just do everything that we would do in any of the other combos that I showed you guys. We can go ahead and take the Armor Fortress and the Coelacanth, and we are going to go ahead and link those into the Marincess Coral Anemone, and then using the Marincess Coral Anemone effect, we can go and reborn out our Shadow Squad. Now this is a very familiar position that a lot of you guys might recognize from the previous combos, and I'm sure you can guess what we're going to do next. Using the Shadow Squad, we can discard either of these. It does not matter which one because we are discarding the other one later in the combo. So go ahead and discard one, level modulating everything to a level 7. And now it's going to slightly differ because we actually don't need to go into Gaios. We would rather clear up some additional room on our board. Using the Shadow Squad, the Neptibus, and the Dueling Guard, we can go ahead and just hard make the Poseidra Abyss. And then this skips over the the Abyss Gaios entirely, just because we need the extra room on our board. Here we're going to link off the Marincess Coral Anemone with the Poseidra into our copy of King Neptibus, and then activate the effect of Poseidra when it's sent to the graveyard. We can go ahead and discard whatever the last card that we searched was. In this case, it is the Minstrel, and that is going to allow us to special summon out the Minstrel, the Shadow Squad, and the Armored Shark from our graveyard. Here, remember, the Abyss Pike is a level 7, so we can go ahead and take the Minstrel and the Abyss Pike and synchro those off into our copy of Ice Jade Gamir Eggrine. And then we want to use the effect of the Armored Shark to send any rank 4 to then target and special summon back out one of our pikes. Now, I do want to just note and kind of pause here that you can change the way that this board ends. If you want to make Abyss Dweller, because maybe you're against something like Yubel or Fire King, then instead of sending the Abyss Dweller, you send the Bahamut Shark, and you just kind of flip-flop that back and forth depending on what matchup you are against. So yeah, just keep that in mind that you can actually end this combo in a different way depending on what you send here off of the Shark. We will activate the effect of the Mermail King Neptibus when a water is sent. That is going to allow us to add the copy of Abyss Sting of Trina. Now, you could technically do this earlier when you use the effect of Poseidra, but it really doesn't matter. As long as you do it at some point, you are going to be getting it when you send a water monster. Here we will overlay our 2 level 3s. This is going to allow us to get into our copy of Lavirtue Dragon, which of course on summon allows us to add our copy of Virtue Stream from our deck to our hand. And then we can go ahead and use the Abyss Sting of Trina to non-target special summon back out our copy of Atlantean Dragoons. Now here we're going to go ahead and take the Dragoons and the Pike, overlaying them into a second Bahamut Shark, and then we can use the Bahamut Shark effect, detaching specifically the Dragoons here, to summon out our second copy of Totally Awesome. Since Dragoons was once again sent to activate the effect of a water monster, we can once again search for any Sea Serpent. In this case, it is going to be the Heavy Infantry. And then the final move that we can do is go ahead and use the Lavirtue Dragon, detaching either material, adding our Dragoons back to our hand, and taking the Lavirtue and the Bahamut and linking those off into our copy of Abyss Latia. Here we will go ahead and set our Virtue Stream to our side of the field and pass to our opponent, and this is a board that you should be very familiar with if you've seen the other 2 parts. We have 2 Omni Negates that are prevented from being targeting thanks to the effect of Mermail King Neptibus. We have a way to make our board indestructible and unbanishable while also banishing cards from our opponent. We have a guaranteed search for follow-up. We have a pop 2. We have guaranteed follow-up off of the Totally Awesome, as well as still having the Abyss Rhine in our graveyard to banish, discard the infantry to draw 1, allowing the infantry to then pop a card. So we have quite a few interruptions. We've ripped 2 cards out of our opponent's hand. In this instance, we have, I believe, 4 cards in our hand with these 2 guaranteed. Actually, it might be 5. It's either 4 or 5 cards in your hand, so you are in a phenomenal position, and if you pull this off against your opponent, it's likely just game over. Now for combo number 2, we are showing you another Abyss Rhine line, and that is what happens if you open up the Dragoons. So if just the Osha and the Shadow Squad wasn't enough to convince you that this card is a mandatory 3 of, maybe the Dragoons will be able to help you here. So the cool thing about Abyss Rhine is you can tribute from field or hand, which is exactly how we are going to start this combo, using her effect tributing off the Atlantean Dragoons from our hand, and that will allow us to then add our copy of Teus. Remember, it can add or special summon, which is how we were able to get to the Coelacanth last turn, so we will go ahead and add the Teus, and then activate the effect of the Dragoons to add any Sea Serpent, and you might have guessed it, of course it is going to be the Neptibus. We can use our normal summon on the Neptibus, activating its effect to send our copy of Shadow Squad from our deck to the graveyard, and allow us to add a copy of Dragoons, and of course activate the effect of Shadow Squad, summoning out the copy of Abyss Pike, and this is very, very familiar to you guys if you've seen the other combos. The Abyss Pike will be able to send off the Dragoons to add any level 3. In this instance, we will go ahead and add the Deep Sea Minstrel, and then the Dragoons here, which in previous combos would add the Mullen Glacia. Instead, we are going to add a copy of Neptibus. This is very important for the combo because we need a way to reborn out that Dragoons. Since we have already used the Abyss Rhine, that means we can't actually tribute the Neptibus from our field the way that we would have previously. So what we will do then is we will use the Abyss Teus summoning itself by discarding off the Neptibus, and that will allow us to in-chain activate Neptibus as 1, Teus as 2. Teus can go ahead and add any Mermail, it does not matter which one, and then of course the Neptibus is going to resummon back out our Atlantean Dragoons. Here we can overlay the Pike and the Dragoons into our copy of Bahamut Shark, and then using the Bahamut Shark detaching specifically the Dragoons, we can go ahead and get into our Totally Awesome. Now the Dragoons will activate because it was once again sent to the grave to activate a water effect. This will now get us our copy of Mullen Glacier, which happens to be at the perfect time because there are 5 water monsters in graveyard. So we can go ahead and plop that down on the field, ripping 2 cards out of our opponent's hand once again, and then we can overlay the Bahamut Shark into the copy of Xyz's Armor Fortress. Using its effect, we can go ahead and detach to add our copy of Armored Shark, and now the combo just continues as it would for the normal line of play. This time we will link off the Neptibus with the Armored Shark into the copy of the Coral Anemone. We can then go ahead and use the Coral Anemone effect to reborn our copy of Shadow Squad, and now here we actually already have the Teus on our field, so we don't have to reborn it. We're in a very good spot, which is why the search can be any Mermail. It doesn't have to be the Gund, but we can then use the Shadow Squad, discarding either the Armored Shark or the Deep Sea Minstrel to level modulate the field into level 7s, and then overlay it with our copy of Mullen Glacier into our Abyss Gaios, and subsequently the Abyss Gaios into our copy of Poseidra. We then take the Poseidra and the Coral Anemone. This is going to go into our copy of Mermail King Neptibus, and exactly the same as the other combos. Utilizing the effect of the Poseidra, we go ahead and discard specifically the Minstrel, and that will allow us to reborn out our Minstrel, the Shadow Squad, and the Armored Shark. And because a water was discarded, we can go ahead and use the effect of King Neptibus to add us our copy of Trina. Here we can synchro off the Deep Sea Minstrel and the Teus into our copy of Aegirine, and then again using the Armored Shark to send any rank 4 to then target and reborn out our copy of Mermail Abyss Pike. Remember that if you don't want to make a double Toad, you can instead send the second Bahamut and end on Dweller. That part is entirely interchangeable. Here we will then take the Armored Shark and the Shadow Squad, overlaying both into our copy of Lavirtue Dragon, and on summon Lavirtue Dragon will add us our copy of Virtue Stream. We will take the copy of Trina, activating it to non-target special summon back out our copy of Dragoons, which we will then overlay with the Pike into yet again the Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark will once again activate the effect, detaching specifically the Dragoons to summon out our second Totally Awesome, and then the Dragoons will activate, allowing us to add our copy of Heavy Infantry. We can use the Lavirtue Dragon effect, detaching either material, to add the Dragoons back to our hand. We can then take the Lavirtue and the Bahamut Shark, going and linking those off into our copy of Mermail Abysslacia. Here we will set our copy of Virtue Stream, and then pass turn to our opponent. Now once again, this leaves us with, I believe, 6 cards now in our hand, and we have guaranteed follow-up, guaranteed negates, guaranteed protection. It's just absolutely absurd. The one thing that I want to mention that I forgot to mention at the end of the last combo is that when you start activating these effects, you can use the effect of the Mermail King Neptibus to either A, recur your copy of Trina so that you have additional recovery on the following turn, or B, you can activate the Abyssgale Mizuchi from the deck, giving you another layer of interruption in a spell negate, also protecting you from something like Dark Roar. And really quick before we get into combo number 3, I just want to announce that I have finished my insane Mermail spreadsheet. It is something like 20 or more combos on just all of the different plays and interactions that you can do with this deck, and I will be releasing it for sale on my 4th and final part of this video. I'm going to have somewhere on the screen the format of the spreadsheet, just because I know that it's not necessarily for everybody. It's the way that works best for me, because one of the things I don't like about the spreadsheets currently on the market is that they are all Dueling Book replays, and the problem with Dueling Book replays is that there is no rewind function, meaning that if you accidentally miss a step or don't understand something that happened, there's no way for you to easily just go back, and you instead have to restart the entire replay. With the way that I have it formatted in a step-by-step combo guide, if you get stuck on a step, just go back up to the next line, or the previous line rather, and read it and go from there. So hopefully you guys enjoy that format. Again, that will be for sale on the 4th and final part of this video, which will have to be after I get back from YCS Anaheim, but I just wanted to give a little bit of a shameless self-plug here because I have been spending the last month working very, very hard on that, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I don't like locking knowledge behind a paywall, which is why I'm making these videos before release, because everything in that spreadsheet will be available in these videos. So if you don't want to buy it, you don't have to, just go ahead and watch the videos. So thank you guys so much. Let's go ahead and get into the next combo. Combo number 3 is a bit of a strange one because it doesn't end on a super strong board, and it's meant solely to serve as a way of having at least something on your end board when you end up facing against Droll and Lockbird. Now, it's no secret that this deck absolutely gets wrecked by Droll because you search like 8 times in a turn. So what do you do if you get Drolled rather than just ending your turn? And that's what we're going to show you. It requires 1 Neptibus and any discard, and we will just end on, like I said, a little bit of a mediocre board, but it's better than just passing your turn. We will start off with the normal summon of the Neptibus, and activating its effect, we will send our copy of Mermail Shadow Squad to our graveyard, which will allow us to add our copy of Atlantean Dragoons. You would activate the Mermail Shadow Squad as chain 1 because you are turn player, meaning you have what's called player turn priority to activate your effects first, and this is where your opponent would have to activate Droll and Lockbird. So with chain 1 being Shadow Squad, chain 2 being Droll and Lockbird, you know that you can no longer add cards from deck to hand, so what do? We're going to use the effect of the Shadow Squad to actually summon out our copy of Atlantean Heavy Infantry. Don't forget that this can summon any level 4 or lower Mermail or Atlantean. That's huge because what this actually does for us is it allows us to normal summon an additional Sea Serpent this turn, which is exactly what we're going to do with the Dragoons that we already added. We're going to go ahead and normal summon out the Dragoons using the additional normal summon off of the Infantry, and then taking the Neptibus and the Heavy Infantry, we can go ahead and link into our copy of Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone is going to allow us to reborn out specifically the Shadow Squad, and then we can activate the Shadow Squad effect, discarding any card in our hand, which is why the discard does not matter, to level modulate everything to a level 7. Here we will use the Dragoons and the Shadow Squad, overlaying them both since they are level 7, into our copy of Mermail Abyss Gaios, and this is where our turn will end. Now, this might not seem all that important, but I can assure you it really is. First off, we still have 3 cards left in our hand because it was just Neptibus plus a discard. But we also have a skill drain on legs, which if you know what you're playing against and you are able to use that at the most optimal time, could end the turn in and of itself. Not to mention against specifically Tenpai, this prevents their monsters from attacking entirely, so you probably just win on the spot there. But not just that, you get an insane amount of follow-up with this board because you have your Marincess Coral Anemone, which is able to reborn out the Neptibus for the following turn, meaning you just get to play your entire turn as if you were going with the Neptibus anyway, but you also get follow-up off of the Gaios because of the 2 materials it has underneath it. Regardless of which of these materials you detach for the effect of Gaios, you will be getting some kind of an effect. You'll either be able to special summon a Mermail or Atlantean off of the effect of the Shadow Squad, or you'll be able to add any Sea Serpent from your deck to your hand off of the Dragoons. So again, not the strongest end board, but it just beats passing your turn if you get Droll and Lockbirded, so I think it's of the utmost importance that even though it is such a simplistic combo, that it is something you commit to your memory, just to make sure you don't get blown out by hand traps. And there you guys have it. That is going to do it for today's combo guide. I know it's a little bit of a shorter video, but I have to make sure that I am ready for YCS Anaheim this weekend, at which I will be playing Mermail, so if you want to go ahead and metagame me, go ahead and do so. I just love this deck so much, and I've already got my invite. I've already topped a YCS this season. Obviously, I would love another top, but I would love playing Mermail for the first time in 10 years so much more. But yeah, like I said, in the next and final part of this combo guide, I will be releasing the spreadsheet that I have spent the better part of the last month working on, and it will be much cheaper than some of the other spreadsheets on the market. It is just going to be $10, whereas some of the other people are charging upwards of $25 to $30 for their spreadsheet. And again, all of the information in that spreadsheet is available in these videos as well, so no pressure to buy it. It's just something that I was working on as a passion project that I want to give back to you guys, the community. So as always, you know the deal. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. As always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard. Using my code INSANE18 or the link in the description down below, you can get 5% off your order, which will also immensely help the support of my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.